Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. I trust that you had a very happy holiday season, and let me be the last to wish you a very happy new year. Coming up on the show today, well, the number one New Year's resolution, I understand, is to live life to the fullest. And I'm happy to play off of that. After all, my New Year's resolution is to just be more cooperative this year. So, coming up on the show, we will catch you up on what's transpired in the winter sports season to this point in time to the fullest. Herald Mail insiders will be here to do that with me, including Andy Mason with wrestling, Dan Kaufman with indoor track and field, got Bob Parsaliti with girls basketball, and we'll begin with Kevin Dunleavy and girls hoops action when you come back.
This is our home. It's where we've all decided to put down roots and raise families, not because we had to, because we wanted to. And as a business owner, you pour every ounce of energy into doing what's right for you in this community, and you won't and you don't stop until you get what you want, and neither do we. We're Antietam Cable Productions, and it's time to stand up and be seen and heard. You have a voice, and we'll help you tell your story. Antietam Cable Productions, putting the beat into the heart of your business.
Well, Eric and I worked for a long time together in the corporate restaurant world, and we decided that we wanted to put the fun back into food.
We do our food our way. We take the traditional and spin it.
We change our menu regularly. We have specials that are creative. Great food, great service in a warm and friendly environment where you can be in jeans and a t-shirt next to someone in a business suit and everyone feels comfortable.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and we get underway with boys basketball. And joining me for that is Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy. Welcome back to the show. Happy New Year, Kevin.
Thank you, Wes. You too.
Great to have you back here, and let's delve into basketball and where we've been before the holidays started and where we are now. And I don't know. I mean, North Hagerstown and Clear Spring both right at the top of the public school heap now, each 7-1. North Hagerstown has a win over Clear Spring, but both teams have been very impressive to start the year.
Yeah, they've really come together and with a lot of defense for both teams. I think that's sort of the overlooked thing, looking into each offseason or looking into each preseason, how things are going to pan out. North is so quick, and they force turnovers like crazy, and Clear Spring quick, and they're long, and that's how they force turnovers. So it's really a real lesson in basketball to see that defense is really a key thing.
It was a great game when those two got together at Clear Spring, a 62-51 win for North Hagerstown in overtime, a game in which North trailed by 13 points late in the third quarter, came all the way back, and they dominated the overtime. And you talk about the way that these two teams have come together, and you really have to have that chemistry in order to play defense. And I think for North Hagerstown that night, it was really epitomized by a guy by the name of Kobe Klein, who doesn't get any ink whatsoever. He was up against Spencer Schultz that night, did a pretty good job against him defensively, giving away all kinds of inches. And then in overtime, he winds up hitting a three at the beginning of overtime, which puts North Hagerstown on an 11-0 run in that OT. And that's the way it's been all year, because you talk about North, they've shaken up that lineup almost every game, but the guys that Coach Hartman has put out there have come through.
Yeah, chemistry that's a key word that you mentioned. They've had 4 fourth quarter comebacks. They've won games that they've trailed in, and some of them significant. That was 10 points in the fourth quarter that they trailed Clear Spring, and with 4 minutes left. So, I mean, they feel like they can win those games, and I've seen 2 of them where they came back in the fourth quarter, and they looked so confident. A lot of that is Malik Carey taking care of the ball and sort of running the show. And everybody having confidence in him to make plays.
Yeah, boy, has he been clutch this season. North 5-1 when trailing at the half this year, to your point. And for Clear Spring, I think Spencer Schultz has been as advertised, but it's the surrounding cast that has made this team successful.
Yeah, Joey Fisher, they play a 2-3 zone. It's like a Syracuse zone that John Hutzel was talking about yesterday. And it's a unique look that teams have a hard time recognizing what's going on. And those wings are, Spencer Schultz 6'7" and Connor Michaels 6'5", and they're both really agile kids. That it presents a really unique challenge for a lot of teams to attack, and nobody's figured it out yet too well.
Yeah, right now North on a 7-game winning streak, Clear Spring on a 4-game winning streak. As far as the private schools are concerned, let's go there now because a lot of success for St. James, 8-2 right now, and went down to Tennessee over the holidays and really put together a very nice trip, winning 3 of the 4 games there in the Arby's Classic.
Yeah, finishing third in a tournament of that quality is really impressive, and you could see that coming on. They've got such a strong starting lineup with 3 guys that are 6'9", and 2 of them are really basically perimeter players, and that's tough for a lot of the highest level teams to deal with. So they're another unique team, and then they've got a great backcourt with a veteran Jordan Bartlett and Omar Habway. So they've got everything. And it'll be interesting to see them play Goretti this Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that they graduated the Gatorade Player of the Year.
They may be a better
year.
team.
And now here they are. I mean, they really haven't missed a beat. You mentioned St. Maria Goretti, 9-7 at the moment, the highest scoring team in the county, and going to be quite a contrast, St. James versus St. Maria Goretti, as we talked about in the preview.
Yeah, Goretti really gets after you with defense, and they can run a lot of players out there. Their rotation looks like it's 7 or 8, but they can go 10 deep, and St. James doesn't go that deep. But it's going to be a real, challenge or real difference in one team with a lot of size and the other team with a lot of quickness and backcourt strength. So
that will be a fun game, and hopefully we'll get to see them again in the IPSL championship game. Hopefully it'll be more than one, just like last year. Williamsport at 5-3 right now. And still kind of searching for somebody to lead that team in terms of facilitating what takes place on offense.
Yeah, Michael Riley he's not scoring at his clip of last year. He's missing Michael Kelbaugh a little bit. So they knew they would have a transition, having a new point guard. Markeel Nelson is at the point guard. He's a really good player, but might be out of position. So they may have to do some different stuff there at the point or come up with a different alignment to get Michael Riley going. But I think they'll figure it out because they do have talent, and they're not very big, but they're a very good transition team. They're tough defensively, so they've got the pieces. But once they figure that cohesion out and get Riley more involved in the offense, they'll be, they may reach that last year's level.
And by the time this show airs, they'll have played a big game on Tuesday night against North Hagerstown. South Hagerstown 4-4 right now, and it just looks like they're still searching a little bit at this point too. But Coach Naylor, always with positivity, saying, "Hey, I think we could be about to go on a run." What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. They definitely have the pieces, a lot of elements back from last year's team, and then they get a good transfer point guard in Amir Harris. But just getting that cohesion again with the new point guard is a difficult thing. So they've played a really tough schedule. Mm-hmm. They've got a tough schedule coming up. They play some really tough teams in the next couple of weeks. But they will be playing county teams and maybe a little more familiarity. 3 of the teams, or all 4 of the teams they've lost to have been 3 Frederick County teams and 1 Montgomery County. So, they've really challenged themselves, and Kevin Naylor knew that was what he wanted to be challenged early this year, because there weren't as many challenges last year in going 19-4.
Yeah, only makes you better down the road, and that's what they're hoping for. Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wes.
I'll be back right after this with girls basketball and Bob Parsoletti in just a moment.
Antietam Cable's WCL-TV invites you to take a tour of local restaurants from the comfort of your couch with our local dining guide, airing now. Your host, Sam Little, goes beyond just the dining room and sits down with local owners and chefs to talk about what makes their restaurants local favorites. We explore the best of American cuisine, head south of the border for a little heat, and travel over the Atlantic for some of Italy's best. Washington County is a hotspot for great food, and we're showing you what you've been missing with WCL-TV's local dining guide, airing now on Channel 30 and in HD on Channel 489.
Sports fans rejoice! Antietam Cable's sports package delivers all your sports action, including NFL Red Zone and MLB Network. Don't miss a touchdown, three-pointer, or home run from your favorite teams in your region or across the country. From pro to college to life in the great outdoors, Antietam Cable has your sports coverage. Sports Plus. Order now and get 60 days free. Instant activation with a digital box. Call Antietam Cable now, 301-797-5000.
Welcome back to the show. We continue with the girls basketball now, and joining me for that is Herald Mail insider Bob Parcelletti. Bob, welcome back to the show. Happy New Year.
Same to you, Wes.
Always good to see you. Saw
to
you
see
at
you
some
too.
games over the holidays.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that a third of the way into the season, at this juncture, beginning this week, we'd only have one girls team on a current winning streak, and it would be Heritage Academy. I think you could have won a lot of money on that one if you had put that out there. The odds had to be long on that. But when we look at the public schools right now, and we talked about it before the season started in the preview show, certainly expected Williamsport, coming off a 21-win season a year ago, to be right at the top. The only team among the public schools in the county with a winning record right now at 5-3, but they suffered a real significant injury, and that sort of threatens to derail their success as the season goes along. Even after the injury to Sydney Hawkinsmith, they continue to play hard, but it looks like there's a different dynamic to that team.
Well, when I talked to Kevin Murphy, talking about how lack of depth, they don't really have a lot of depth outside of his starters. And when you say lack of depth, sometimes it's just a matter of experience. You don't really know what the kids are going to do yet. And this is going to force them into trying to find it out pretty quickly.
Yes.
Sydney Hawkinsmith was probably the name that everybody didn't really talk about because of the other three that were the main girls on that team, because they were all county girls, and that's Kate Wade and Erin McVicker and
Olivia
Coleman.
Yeah.
So Sydney was the kind of the glue, and now the glue is gone, and you got to see how you keep the things stuck together.
Yeah, and things have been difficult. I mean, since she went out, the first 3 games of the season, at least 65 points per game. They've seen the point production come down. They've seen the rebounding average come down. Lost 2 of the last 3 games, the last one being in the Dowd Classic final against Clarksburg, where her absence really showed up. But again, going to have to scramble. And as you said, what's difficult about this is Sydney Hawkinsmith, 5'9", and a senior. And all of a sudden you look on that roster, there's only one other player who's as tall, aside from Olivia Coleman, and that's Madison Riley, who's a junior, and she really doesn't fit that 4-man role that Sydney played. So again, going to have to be some jockeying there, but trust that Coach Murphy will, sort of play the best chess game that he can.
Well, in the Clarksburg game, there was, in the first quarter, they played very well.
Yeah, it was a great start.
And then they took Coleman out and sat her for a few seconds, and Clarksburg came in with the press, and Williamsport never could respond and really get out of that. Get out of that, because there was a lot of dribbling and picking up the ball, and it really slowed things down. Kevin has said in the past they like to play fast, and when you're holding the ball and passing it around, that's trouble.
Yeah, that does not help your cause at all. And when you look, as far as the public schools are concerned, after Williamsport, the team with the next most wins right now is Hancock with 4. I know they haven't played a terribly difficult schedule, but still 4 wins for a Hancock team that only won 5 games all of last year. So that's a pretty good start for Coach Rupenthal and his crew. And Boonesboro, the other team that we talked about before the season started, because it seemed like Williamsport and Boonesboro kept bumping into each other all of last year, and we expected that to be the case this year. Still may be before it's over, of course, now in different classifications. But Boonesboro just 3-5 right now. And I talked to Coach Connolly after the Warriors lost to James Wood in their holiday tournament final, and he said, that's a game that we needed, though. Even though we lost it, we finally got tested, and I think that finally put us in a position going forward to improve, because now we know when the pressure's on what we need to do, and we can learn from that experience.
Well, this whole season is kind of weird. I mean, usually the first up until the end of December is kind of the testing period. It's kind of the independent games. It's, kind of not really, it's competitive, but it's not that cutthroat, got to win type thing.
Games that count,
Yeah.
but not ones that you're like, this is life or death.
And now coming into this part, it's going to change because there's no conference.
Right.
So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of games that are they're going to be weighted differently as far as meaning goes. I think you're getting in a period now where it's going to start seeing and putting together pieces in order to be ready for the tournaments when they come up in February.
Yeah, should get very interesting here as we go along. As you said, I mean, the games will mean a whole lot more. Beyond those 3 teams, you have a couple of, or 3 2-win squads in Smithsburg, Clear Spring, and North Hagerstown. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of separation between those teams other than North Hagerstown and Natalie Carlin has been their offense, been their motor all season long. And I think if you're looking at players of the year potentially, she has been the go-to player. She's been asked to do most everything for North, and she's responded pretty well.
Well, but she's got to help other players get involved too a little bit. So that kind of hurts them a little bit. They need to have other players step up. Over at Clear Spring, they're doing a lot with a lot of young players, and Smithsburg just can't seem to find a way to get things to work. They're just they're really having troubles with some cohesiveness and moving the ball around and being effective inside, and it's really hurting them right now.
Yeah, I think that has to be frustrating for Coach Bakedale because he seemingly has the pieces, but they're just not coming.
Right.
They're not gelling. The chemistry is not there right now. As far as the private schools, Grace off to a great start at 10-3. Lindsay Bedrigal continues to stuff the stat sheet there for the Knights. And I mentioned Heritage at 5-1, but this is going to be a real test of a week for the Eagles. They play 4 times, including 2 games in the Oriole Classic at Maryland School for the Deaf at the end of the week. And St. Maria Goretti, who has really fallen on hard times lately, gets St. James this week. So 2 teams are on losing streaks. Prolonged losing streaks will meet. Something has to give in that particular game. But it's going to be interesting here with the girls because, as we said, nothing has been carved out yet, really, by anybody.
There's nobody that really wants to take control. And the ones that probably could have in the early going have taken steps back because of injuries or things not working out correctly. So it's going to be a big dog pile for a while.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be right in the midst of it, Bob. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
I'll be back right after this. Dan Kaufman, an indoor track and field in just a moment.
Look how cute we are. I want to puke on us.
From the producer of Bridesmaids.
I'm just a modern chick who does what she wants. And relationships aren't my thing.
I think we really like each other and we should start dating.
No.
Yes.
No.
I slept at the doctor's place last night. What were you, drunk?
No, I had like 2 drinks. 3 max. 4 now that I'm tallying.
Trainwreck, unrated.
Digital customers, tune to Channel 1 to get started. Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with indoor track and field. And to bring us up to date on where we've been so far this season, Herald Mail insider Dan Kaufman joins me now. Dan, first of all, Happy New Year.
Same to you. Hope you enjoyed your holidays.
I did so far, and hopefully you're not going to ruin things here as we begin the new year.
I'll do my best. I don't want to disappoint you.
Well, we don't want to disappoint anybody. And there have been a lot of performances so far that have been much less than disappointing to this point so far as county athletes are concerned. County championships not too far away. So let's kind of set people up as far as that's concerned, beginning with the boys.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you go to athletic.net, you can look at all the Washington County statistics, the times and distances that everybody has performed so far. And it's not 100% accurate as far as like an overall point total for some various reasons that I won't get into. But if you add up the boys' points so far, Boonesboro's sitting on 132 and Smithsburg's sitting on 108. And that's interesting because Boonesboro doesn't necessarily have the headline athletes. Like Smithsburg's got Micah Daniel, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, and Will Merritt as well, who are kind of getting the headlines and get some of the attention. Boonesboro doesn't really have any top-line kids like that, but they have so much depth, as we talked about in the season preview. They're picking up so many 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place finishes that it all adds up, and it's going to make them very tough to beat at the county meet. But we mentioned Smithsburg. I mean, Micah Daniel is just dominating the middle distances the same way he did last year. He's right there at the top of the county board in the 300, the 500, and the 800. He's got the top time in the 500 in Class 1A in the state. And then Will Merritt, again, a sensational battle with Darren Harmon last weekend in the 1600 that Merritt prevailed in with a 1A best time. So, again, 2 real headliners there for Smithsburg.
Yeah, what do you make of some of these times and some of these results right now? Because I know that in doing your math, And in sort of projecting these things out, you're talking about what's been best so far in 1A, 2A, 3A. We'll talk about all of those things. But how are they translating right now as far as you're seeing it? Are we in the place as far as the county is concerned that you thought we would be when the season opened?
I think overall the county's a little stronger. On the boys' side, the county's a little stronger this year. I mean, if you look at the times that Danielle is posting for Smithsburg, that Will Merritt and Darren Harmon are posting right now in the 1600, Harmon in the 3200. They're all better than they were last year. I mean, they're in the low 430s for the 1600. Darren Harmon's in the 940 range for 3200. That's a good 10, 15 seconds quicker than anything at this time last year. So it's been very high level stuff for the most part on the boys' side.
Yeah, very impressive. Let's hit the South Hagerstown boys real quick because we've had some impressive performances there.
Yeah, a couple new names showing up. McCoy Dutro right now has the top time in the 55 dash. Derek Allman in the 55 hurdles has really come on and been a surprise. And then they've got, as we've said, Harmon kind of anchoring the way.
Sure.
You know, South's overall point total right now, which is 96, is actually closer to second place Smithsburg than Smithsburg is to Boonesboro. Now, again, a lot of things can happen. Relay teams get changed up. You know, kids are going to run, kids might be listed in 6 or 7 events in the standings right now. They can only do 4 in a meet. But, I mean, you got to say, South has a nice core of kids, and they're certainly, they can't be counted out. Let's just say that.
No, I think the county would be very interesting from that standpoint. It looks like it could be a 3-way battle there. How about the girls?
Yeah, again, we thought Boonesboro was the favorites coming in. They've done nothing to change that perspective, although Smithsburg's only 18 points behind them in the methodology that I used for this. So, certainly Smithsburg with its distance core, and they've got a sophomore standout sprinter who's arrived on the scene in Lauren Daniels, who's leading the standings in the 55 and the 300. She has the best time in 1A in the 300. So she's helped Smithsburg get a little closer than maybe some would expect. But, I mean, Haley Wright's having her typical great year. She's running times in the 800 and 1600 that are as good as anything she ran last indoor season. Cameron Harper has continued to progress in the 300 and the 500. She's got the top Class 1A time in the 500 so far this year. So, again, Boonesboro is leading the way right now. But, again, Smithsburg makes things a little bit interesting with their distance depth and, again, Lauren Daniels being one of those surprise standout names.
Real quickly here, we have about 30 seconds. Care to venture any predictions for the county meet?
Boonesboro will win the girls' title. I still feel very strongly about that. They just have so much top-end quality athletes. The boys is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think in the end it's going to be a 24-point gap between Boonesboro and Smithsburg or South if they can get in there. But their depth, the size of their team, and a meet that scores 8 points, could be tough to overcome for anybody.
Well, we shall see. I'll be back right after this. Andy Mason joins me for wrestling in just a moment.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Antietam Cable's WCL-TV invites you to take a tour of local restaurants from the comfort of your couch with our local dining guide, airing now. Your host, Sam Little, goes beyond just the dining room and sits down with local owners and chefs to talk about what makes their restaurants local favorites. We explore the best of American cuisine, head south of the border for a little heat, and travel over the Atlantic for some of Italy's best. Washington County is a hotspot for great food, and we're showing you what you've been missing with WCL-TV's local dining guide, airing now on Channel 30 and in HD on Channel 489.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with wrestling. I'm joined by Herald Mail insider, sports editor Andy Mason. Andy, welcome back to the show. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, Wes. Great to be back.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked about it in the preview show, and December 12th certainly the date that you should have had circled on your calendar if you wanted to see a tremendous tri-meet. We had North Hagerstown at home against both Williamsport and Middletown. A little bit of extra drama in that whole scenario as it ultimately played out. North has its only loss of the season because of a defeat at the hands of Middletown there. But all in all, the Hubs 19-1 right now, but potentially at least one chink in the armor.
Oh yeah, I mean they're 19-1. You'd call that a great month, but they lost by 2 points to Middletown, a team they could have beaten, and they had to. They competed against Middletown without Brian Stewart, their state champion, and that certainly didn't help.
No, not at all.
Yeah, didn't help. So they were without him. They lost to Middletown, and that might come back to hurt them a lot because the North region right now, the 4A, 3A North region, is very tough. Oakdale looks really tough. Oakdale beat Middletown. North lost to Middletown, and now North
will face Oakdale.
North has
right?
to wrestle Oakdale,
Yeah.
and 2 losses might keep you out of the duels this year. And it's always this Damascus, the team that's defeated North the last 2 years. Came down to the last match in the state duels final. Well, Damascus beat Oakdale in a dual meet this year. So you have North lost to Middletown, which lost to Oakdale, which lost to Damascus. So it's it's all about the matchups. North, maybe North could beat Damascus or Oakdale, but it's going to be tough. It's going to, it's real tough. And as we were talking about earlier, North's going to have to compete maybe the rest of the season without heavyweight Alex Starr. And that's a huge loss. He suffered a broken arm at the La Plata duels, and I believe the doctor told him he's probably done for the year. I think there's still some hope that maybe he can heal quickly and get back. But I mean, that's a huge loss.
Yeah, when you think about just how close these matches potentially could be, and you need everybody at the top of their game in order to win. We've experienced that. North's experienced that the last couple of years.
Yeah.
When you subtract somebody of that caliber, next man up, yes, but you don't have a guy with that experience.
Yeah, Alex Starr, he's a senior co-captain.
Right.
Last year he was a region champ, state qualifier, and he's seems like he might be gone for the year, and that's a huge setback. But they still have a bunch of great wrestlers. They got a kid to replace them. They'll keep trying to move forward.
Well, we're going to find out just how much at the top of their game the Hubs are, because the Hub Cup comes up this Friday and Saturday, and the competition there is going to be through the roof.
Oh yeah, the 29th annual Hub Cup, by far the biggest, most prestigious wrestling event in Washington County every year. And 20 teams from 4 states. 3 of the top 8 teams from Maryland are going to be there, and from the Maryland State Wrestling Association overall team rankings. You got number 8 North, they're ranked 8th, number 5 St. Paul's, and number 1 Good Counsel.
Wow.
And Good Counsel's ranked 50th in the country, top ranked team in Maryland, the first time at the Hub Cup, and they've got some studs on their team. Tell you, so there are 14 weight classes. 6 of the number 1 ranked kids in the state are going to be at the Hub Cup.
Man.
Good Counsel has 4 of them. St. Paul's has 2 of them.
Ooh.
And as good as North High has Brian Stewart, state champ, Aaron Brooks, state champ, those guys aren't ranked number 1.
Man.
But they could face number 1s. It's going to be some exciting wrestling.
Well, teams often find a lot of motivation, too, in being the underdog, especially in your own gym.
Sure.
So if they ever needed a little more
I
to
wouldn't
get the
bet.
juices
I would never
flowing.
bet against Brooks or Stewart.
No,
and Isaiah Brooks, Aaron's older brother, he's having a great season.
Yeah.
He's undefeated right now.
Big comeback
Yeah,
season for him.
sophomore Justin Balsita, he's undefeated at 106. North has some great guys still.
Now, one team that won't be there is South Hagerstown, and St. James will be there, but Williamsport won't be there.
Yeah, Williamsport, a Hub Cup regular. They're going to be at the Iron Horse Duels at C. Milton Wright. Boonesboro's not going to be there. They're going to be at the Fort Hill Super Duels, and Smithsburg, which typically doesn't go to the Hub Cup, they're going to be at the Dundalk Duels. So everyone in Washington County is having a very busy weekend.
Yeah, the Hub Cup is always something to behold. I think anytime when you get down to those finals, though.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, it's
Saturday night after 2 days of wrestling.
The atmosphere.
It's great. Gym's packed.
Just everything.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. Has anything surprised you to this point, so far as wrestling's concerned?
Big surprise. Boonesboro's having a great year. Last year they were under 500. I believe they had a 13-16 dual meet record. And first-year coach Sean Smith, they're 8-4 in duels right now. They just took second at the Leopard Holiday Invitational. I don't know if it's a huge surprise, but it's a nice turnaround.
Right. Yeah, headed in the right direction.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
The biggest surprise, North losing to Middletown, the way that unfolded. We already talked about it, but that might be the biggest surprise. I mean, North came in. Middletown's got a great team, but. North in their own gym, big match.
Yes.
It was surprising to see them lose.
It was.
Yeah.
We just don't expect it anymore. Yeah. Expectations are so high. Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wes.
That will do it for this week's show. Next week, we'll have Hub Cup coverage and basketball and you name it. It's a great time of year. The new year has kicked off, and I will see you next week right back here on The Inside. Thanks for watching.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.